Hi, I'm Bad Flick Tax, and I want to talk about how to have very fast flicks and very precise aim at the same time. I'm sure many of you have heard the pros and cons of having high sense versus low sense. With a high sense, you get more speed, making flicks easier, but precision becomes more difficult. With a low sense, the opposite is true. It's much easier to be more precise with a low sense, but flicking and speed become more difficult. This technique I'm going to talk about offers the best of both worlds, and it comes in two parts. The first part of this technique is changing your sensitivity to have a high hipfire sense but a low ADS sense. The second part of this technique is learning to flick un-ADS'd and then ADS again. Here are some examples. In this first example, take note of the control. Small movements are no problem, and you can see this when I make the very small flick to mute's head. Then when I flick, I do it un-ADS'd both times.
You have located a bomb.
In this next example, it's more complete. I start in an ADS, kill the ash, then un-ADS, flick the white hallway, and then ADS again. Here's one more example where I use this technique going from ADS shooting, then un-ADS flicking, then back to ADS shooting. Keep in mind this technique is meant for larger flicks. You probably shouldn't be using it for things that are within 45 degrees to your left or right. Basically, anything that's about 90 degrees in front of you or small flick should be done ADS'd. Anything beyond that and you flick un-ADS'd. That's not to say that you have to do it this way or that way every time the same way, based on the number of degrees that a person is or isn't in front of you, but it is more sensible to remain ADS'd while flicking at things that are for the most part right in front of you. For the majority of people, flicking is easier on a high sense, but having precise aim is easier with a low sense. This is why you set your hipfire sense high, so that your flick can be very fast and easy, and your ADS sense low so that your aim can still be very precise. I know this is a problem for those of you that want a one-to-one sense or are concerned with muscle memory. This might earn me some flack, but muscle memory is not that big a deal when it comes to mouse aiming, and I'll link an article in the description about it. Here's a short clip from Pengu talking about changing mouse sense by small increments often.
How come some pros change sense so often? It's very common to do. It's actually scientifically proven to be better to change stuff. I've always said this, but I didn't know there was science behind it. But basically, when you get comfortable and complacent, right? When it becomes the norm, when it becomes robotic, when it becomes habit, your brain isn't working at 100% pace versus when you're actively trying to learn. And there's been multiple studies done recently with players and changing their sensitivities in small increments frequently versus not changing at all. And you see spikes of performance, right? And I myself have always said that same thing, that I always play the best on a new sensitivity. I've always had that. Every single Pro League season of my 4-year career, I've changed sense almost every week. Before my game against Rogue, where I dropped 19 kills or whatever, I changed mouse and sensitivity an hour before the game.
So let's talk more about the sensitivity scales in this technique. The Voltaic Aim team says that most people's ideal sensitivity is between 2360 and 5360, 20 being considered a higher sense and 50 being considered a lower sense. So for example, using this technique, I have my hipfire sense at 8, which is about 25-360, and my one-time sight is set to about 24, or 60-360. So the pros to this technique are having fast flicks and precise aim. Another pro is having a larger view of what's around you while you flick, giving you more visual information and making the flick less disorienting. The caveat is the ADS time. This is really the only con to this technique I can think of, but it can be offset by using attachments that reduce ADS time. In Siege, that would be the angled grip. So if you do want to try this technique, you can test if you found a happy compromise between fast flicks and precise aim by doing T-Hunt on plane. This map offers close, medium, and far away targets for you to test speed and precision and flicking. I myself mostly test with the one-time sight, but also test with other sights going up to the 2.5. Basically, if you're precise enough to tap heads of the enemies that spawn out on the tarmac, but also fast enough to flick back and forth while defending the diffuser, then you have probably found a happy compromise. Now this technique isn't going to be for everyone. There is no perfect sense or aim. This is just something you can try. There are probably a lot of you that have been doing this unconsciously but never actually configured your sense with this technique in mind. I'm just trying to give you enough information to find a comfortable balance between a high and low sense and possibly having both in a way. So I hope this video was helpful to you. It's important to me that my guide videos are actually helpful. So if it was, please like, subscribe, and definitely comment because it helps me analyze the quality of my content. Thanks for watching.